How y'all doing? For this video, I'm showing off a miniature that I had 3D printed at the public library. The miniature is an Umber Hulk. For those who don't know what an Umber Hulk is, it's a monster in Dungeons & Dragons that is basically a huge walking beetle-like monster that lives underground, and it's a classic of its range. Now, normally, these type of monsters aren't that impressive to me, with miniatures that already exist and all that, but there's this company off myminifactory.com. That's a website where you can purchase STL files for 3D printing. So if you want to get a whole slew of different miniatures to 3D print, this is a place to go. But these are STL files you got to pay for, mind you. Unlike Thingiverse and other sites where you can get them for free. That said. This is an Umber Hulk that I saw from a group called Lord of the Print, and this one, the STL files, you get 3 Umber Hulks to be put together. They're in 3 different poses. One has a huge boulder over its head to crush nearby opponents. There's one that has just a stepping one where it's just stepping forward, and one that's leaning by, and you could choose a multi-part or as a whole. There is a two different heads. So one has a blade horn, which I thought was very appealing, but there's also a rhino beetle horn that's the option that you have. So for a single price for 3 different models and different small varieties in that, it's a good bargain. So I bought the STL files, and I had the public library 3D print one of them, since you gotta be on waiting lists on everything, so I didn't want to do all 3 at once. And when it was fully 3D printed, I was really excited. I got home, but it wasn't quite perfect. But it didn't stall me from completing it and painting it, which I'll show here. Let me show you what I mean about why it wasn't perfect. Okay, so let's take a look on a preview side view of the model itself. This is what I had printed out at the public library, and I chose the the blade horn look of the monster. It's got a nice menacing pose, nothing extravagant or anything. You could see on the end of its big arm there, it has a huge blade on the end of it, right at its elbow. It's got 4 arms, 2 big ones, 2 small ones. It's got nice armor plating. It's just a nice looking miniature. So when I got to the library, I had it 3D printed. A few days later, they called me up, said it was ready. And I took it home, still had the supports on it. And when I took the supports off, it didn't turn out that great, and this is how it turned out. Okay, so here it is. Okay, you may not notice anything at first, especially not this angle, but if you take a look at the end of that arm, right where the elbow is, the blade wasn't fully printed out. It has a little stub. The other side turned out okay. And, and we're going to take a look at the next view of this, so you can see it much better. You can see that the whole arm, the whole arm is there except for the blade coming out the elbow. But if you also take a look at the very top of its back, it also didn't have, there's parts of it missing. So let me show you what it's supposed to look like. Okay, so let's take a look at the STL file on the above view of this model, and let's take a look at the center plate right between the shoulders behind its head. That's what it's supposed to look like. Although when I took it home and took the supports off, all the supports were in the back, just FYI. We decided to print it as one hole and an angle, and all the supports on the back. And what you got is in this next picture, and as you can see, it didn't print out that great. The center, the center plate was not all the way through, and it just needed some work done. Okay, so I have a couple of choices. One, go back to the library and have them printed out again, put myself on a waiting list to and wait however long it takes to get it fully printed again. Or I could try and fix this. Now, traditionally, we have the green stuff there. For those who don't know, the green stuff is a putty that you mix red and blue, yellow and blue strips together and mix them together to where it turns green. You can use this to fill in some gaps and what have you. That's the traditional stuff. But what I have wouldn't quite work. It doesn't dry very solid. It just very difficult for me to work with, even if I use like metal supports and all that. So I decided to do something else, and what I've heard is through other channels is a substance called Milliput. Same idea. It comes in various colors besides in green, but it gives you 2 sticks of putty. You cut off equal amounts. You mix them together. Add a little bit of water to moisten it, and then you can shape it to whatever you want. And it dries very hard, and the way I describe after it hardens is that it's like a very dense plaster. Now, usually when it's still soft, you could shape it with these special tools with a silicone tip, because this stuff is very tacky when you try and work with it. And I didn't have those tools, so I put it together with, I put some on it with a little bit more than what it's supposed to have, and when it dries, I shaped it down to the desired shape that I wanted to. So let's take a look at how it turned out. So as you can see, this is a side view again, and I fixed up the blade on the end of its elbow there, and it turned out very nice. You can see on the top part, the back plate is fixed up, and as you take a look from the top view here, it's put, and I was satisfied with the results on that. I know it doesn't look like much, but when you primer it and start painting it, you probably won't know the difference, at least looking upon it at first glance, unless you really know the model. And that's just it. As my grandmother used to say about in woodworking, when it comes to people looking at it that damn close, they're looking too damn close. No, it's not perfect, and I wasn't expected to be. But when I put it all together, fixed it up, and I painted it, it turned out just what I want. And here's the thing, even with these repairs, the model still didn't come out perfect. For instance, if you look back in the previous pictures and look at the nose blade on that, there's a crack in the middle of it. It broke on transit from the library back home. Super glued it back on. And on the small arm on its right side, the fingers broke off when I took the supports on. But that's okay. With the anything that's kind of off with the plates that I didn't get shaped right compared to the original model, and crack on the nose and the fingers missing, that doesn't mean that the miniature is ruined. That's the story. You can make a story behind it. That's battle damage or injury that this creature went through. So it doesn't detract from anything. So don't be afraid of things like that. Yeah, I could have, if I really wanted to, make small pieces of putty and fix the fingers and all that, but I decided not to. I figured it's good enough. So I painted it mostly with 2 contrast paints from Citadel. I was getting an Army Painter, but they ran out of that, so I went ahead and got the a brown and the black Citadel contrast paints, and I wanted to try those out. Highlighted them with a little bit of lighter paints. I'll go back and forth towards more or less to my satisfaction, and I'll have a slideshow showing the results. So let that be a lesson. So just because you got something, if you're caught in a situation, don't let it detract you that it's ruined and there's no hope. Do a little research and try it yourself, and be surprised what you could accomplish and what you'll be happy with. And I'm happy with the results here. And in time, I'll get the other 2 printed out, so I'll have a complete set. But until then, here's this one, and thank you all for watching. You have a nice day. Oh, by the way, I'll link down below the Lord of the Print website if you want to purchase these yourself. They're very nice. In fact, Lord of the Print from myminifactory.com has a great selection of 3D printed miniatures and beautiful shaped sculpts. So yeah, check them out. And check out the others on that website. You'll be surprised what's out there. But that being said, here's the slideshow. Thank you all for watching. You have a nice day.